almost said doshi.
So what happens in the event that the employer does not report? The employer is not, maybe they're not insured, they don't have an insurance company, so of course they don't want to pay. So
Because they're the ones who will pay.
Yeah, they'll have to pay from their own pocket. So if they don't report, what do you do? So as an employee working, you can get injured. For example, if maybe you are in a construction company and you're doing construction, you don't have the right gear, the helmet and whatnot, and you get injured, maybe for example by the bricks or whatever, what is your recourse? Yeah.
Let's say I got one of my fingers cut, yeah? I am the employee, so I have to report to my employer first and tell them that, oh, this has happened. And also, even before we go like so.
Hello and welcome to the Sisters-in-Law podcast. My name is Beverly Mokaya and I'm here with
Aquila Mokaya. In this podcast, we discuss matters law.
I'm talking about contracts law, to tax law, to intellectual property law, immigration law, any matters law. We've got you covered.
Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below.
So before we begin today's episode, I just want to wish you a happy New Year 2026. We hope you enjoyed your holidays.
Because we did.
Yeah, we did. And just we're looking forward to a great 2026 and we'll have better content for you and, just stay tuned. So on today's episode, we are going to talk about a very interesting topic called work injury benefits. You're employed at your workplace, let's say it's a construction company or let's say a factory that deals with harmful chemicals or any kind of work situation, and you can be prone to getting injured or almost said acquiring diseases or getting diseases at the workplace. So what is your recourse in such an instance? Because essentially when you go to work, you're exchanging your life for payment, your time for pay. So in the course of working, you can get injured. For example, if maybe you are in a construction company and you're doing construction, you don't have the right gear, the helmet and whatnot, and you get injured, maybe for example by the bricks or whatever, what is your recourse?
Oh, so it's important to note that it's governed by Work Injuries Benefits Act, like WIBA. So I think we'll refer to it mostly
as WIBA.
As WIBA, yeah. So first, we'd want to analyze what are the obligations of the employer or the, sometimes it's like, who employs a casual laborer? Is it still an employer?
Yeah, it's still an employer.
Okay, like even casual laborers, like what's the obligation of an employer towards his employees? Yeah. So let's say it's a construction company and you come in to do maybe heavy lifting, maybe you're an engineer or something, so they should provide you the helmet, maybe gloves, maybe this protective gear. Even if, like, let's say those guys that work at the snake parks, like protective gear that's meant to protect them from being like harmed by poison, snake poison and stuff. Yeah.
And even if somebody works in a factory, for example, you'll have to get the masks, the KN95, I think it's called something like that, the masks and things to protect you from inhaling the wrong chemicals and things like that. So one of the obligations of an employer is that they're supposed to provide you with protective gear suitable to your work environment.
Yeah.
For example, if you're in an office, you don't expect your employer to give you a helmet. I mean,
oh my God,
so it should be suitable to the kind of injuries that you would ordinarily get in such in your course of work, in that environment. So I think it's also important to note that this obligation cannot be shifted. You can't expect your employees to carry their own helmets,
or maybe gumboots
or things like that, and if they get injured, you say that I shifted the responsibility to the employee. You can't do that. So it's solely the obligation of the employer to do that, and if they fail to do that and somebody gets injured, then they will be liable. So what is the process if somebody gets injured? And even before we get to that, it's just, this is a little bit of TMI kidogo, but it's under negligence, you know. Your employer owes you a duty of care. So what usually happens is if somebody owes you a duty of care and they breach that duty of care and a damage occurs, they are liable to compensate you for the injury caused. Yeah, I think just refer to our video on torts.
Yeah, negligence.
Negligence and torts. It's like one of the very first videos that we ever did.
Yeah.
So in the event that that happens, what is your recourse in law?
So the first thing is that you have to report. Like, so me, for example, I was cut, one of my fingers was cut. Okay, I'm not laughing at that situation, but I'm just saying an example. Let's say I got one of my fingers cut, yeah? I am the employee, so I have to report to my employer first and tell them that, oh, this has happened. And also, even before we go like so far, the employer is supposed to take insurance.
Yeah.
Because you realize later that the insurance is not that pays. Like later you realize that it's the insurance that pays. So first I report to my employer, right? And the employer now is the one who's supposed to go and report to the ministry. Is it the labor ministry?
Yeah, Ministry of Labor.
Did I just say labor? Ministry of Labor.
Yeah. So, but it's not just generally the Ministry of Labor. There's a specific state department for it. It's called DOSH, the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Services. Their offices are along Safety House. So it's a building called Safety House along industrial area. That's where the office is.
Didn't almost say Doshi.
It's DOSH, DOSH.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So you and I think you've said that it's the employer who's supposed to report. First of all, you said that the employee who has been injured or has acquired that disease. Of course, if it's a disease, you have to be able to link it to something that happened maybe in your course of work.
Yeah, maybe it's like a chest issue and you're inhaling a lot of fumigation,
fumes, yes, and things like that.
Yeah.
So you should be able to. You just can't fall sick and then say, "Oh, you got malaria," and then you're like, "Oh,
I got it from here."
Yeah, the mosquito bit me when I was at work. No, you can't do that. It has to be something
related to the work.
Yes, in relation to that line of work. Yeah. So when you're reporting it to your employer, they say it can either be verbally or documented. But as you have learned this far,
please
document
let it be written.
Yeah. So you write it down to your employer on such and such a date. I got injured. So first of all, the employer is supposed to take care of any medical expenses that you incur. If you went to hospital and you need to get some medical attention, anything that you pay, including your transport to the hospital,
yes,
your employer is supposed to take care of that.
In the instance where, let's say you got, what example of a disease can I use? Let's say you got a chest complication at night. Yeah, then you went to hospital. Like during the night, of course, you won't tell your employer at that time. So you go and spend your own money, and then later you realize, of course, like when you speak to the doctor, they'll tell you it's probably due to like the fumes that you've been coming in contact with and stuff like that. So all the money that you spent, the employer is supposed to reimburse. And you ensure you keep all the receipts. Yeah.
Okay, so note that the ideal route is not the employee going to the Ministry of Labor. You go to your employer and then the employer reports to the Ministry of Labor, to DOSH, yeah? So what happens, it's actually an online thing. There's a website, DOSH has a website, and your employer, and if you're an employer, you're supposed to file a complaint. There's like a red thing there. File a complaint. Click on it, file the complaint, and upload there's a form that they have to fill. So you fill the form and then upload the complaint there.
So when you upload the complaint, it depends on the type of injury, right? So let's say it's a very, let's say, I don't want to say complex, or maybe let's say it's complex and we are not sure if, were you just hurt somewhere, or were you just hurt at this workplace, they would give an investigation officer to do investigation so that they can't just be dishing out money to everybody. Yeah, because
of course, if it's contentious.
So like in the instances where it's contentious, maybe you even cut your finger when you are heading home from a matatu. Anyway, so they give like an investigation officer the matter who investigates. Yeah. But in the instance where it's not investigated, then the director now assesses the damage or like the hurt, and then they recommend the amount of money that you're supposed to be given.
So you note that nobody mentioned anything about court proceedings. If you go to court, there's something called a preliminary objection that the other lawyer would put, because these matters were removed from the court system. I think because they happen a lot, especially in the construction industry, and that would constitute and contribute to a lot of
Backlog
backlog
and
in the courts and things like that. So all this was removed from the court system. You don't go to court because your matter will not be heard. Maybe later on when you're trying to enforce it, then you can
Go to
try
court
and
and
do that,
stuff,
and
but
try and enforce an
preliminary,
order
no.
that has already been given by the director. So how does the assessment take place? There's a formula that the director looks at. They have to look at the wage you are earning. Of course, somebody who's earning 90,000 and somebody who's earning 9,000 wants to get the same compensation.
Yeah.
They have to look at the level of injury. Of course, somebody who just cut the finger and somebody who lost a whole leg cannot
It's
get
so
the same
different,
compensation. If you look at the acts, you'll see there are some percentages attached to it. So if there's permanent incapacity, maybe somebody cut their finger, maybe the right finger, the left finger have different percentages. And if you cut both of them or all of them, actually, if you cut it from here, the percentage is different from if you cut it from here.
because now you can still use this part.
Yeah, exactly. So they're different. Like it's just a whole list of things where they have assigned the percentages, and the director will use all that to calculate, and you will get whatever is supposed to be compensated.
So now, in the event that, let's say, I'm not satisfied as the employee, I'm not satisfied with the amount of money I have been issued, I'm supposed to raise a complaint to the director.
Or the employer.
Like, yeah. So whether it's me or my employer, either of us who is not satisfied, because you see the director assesses, calculates, and then gives you a recommendation, right? You have the right to object, yeah, to it. But now this objection can only be done within 30 days of reporting or 30 days of receiving the recommendation. So upon 30 days elapsing, then you cannot
object to the recommendation
of the by the director.
Yeah.
And then now this whole procedure should go through. The time span is 90 days for you to get your payment, reimbursement, compensation. Yeah.
So after the recommendation is out, the employer has 90 days to liaise with the insurance company and get you
ensure
paid.
that you've been compensated. Yeah.
Also, I think there's something we didn't mention is that you have a 1-year window. So there's this thing. There's such a thing as time-barred proceedings. Yeah, I think we also talked about it in another video of ours. So if it happens today, your employer or you have up to next year time, like now, to report. If it passes that, then you don't have any recourse in law.
Yeah.
So what happens in the event that the employer does not report? The employer is not, maybe they're not insured, they don't have an insurance company, so of course they don't want to pay. So
because they're the ones who will pay.
Yeah, they'll have to pay from their own pocket. So if they don't report, what do you do? So as an employee, you can go to the DOSH offices or get a lawyer to do it for you. They'll give you a letter, sort of a demand letter from them, yeah, for you to take it to your employer. So basically what the letter is saying is your employer should lodge a complaint with them. If they fail to do that within a span of, I think they usually give 14 days or 7 days, whichever span they'll give in the letter. If they fail to do that, you will go back with the letter, whether served or not, to their offices again, and they will assign you an officer who will do the investigations, and the process will continue now from there as though the employer had made the report. Yeah. So that's what happens with the WIBA. Yeah, you can just be throwing around that word.
Yeah.
WIBA. So that's what happens with WIBA. If you're injured at the workplace or you got sick at your workplace, yeah, that's the recourse that you have. And with that, we are done with the episode. Thank you for watching, and remember to
share, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and also remember that now we are on Spotify. You can listen to us.
Thank you for watching.
There.
Bye.
Thank you.